We often live our lives on autopilot, right? You wake up, you go through the motions, you chase after the things you think will make you happy, but deep down, there's this feeling that something's missing. Have you ever asked yourself, what is it that I'm really searching for? Is it money, fame, security, or is it something more? Before we dive deep, let's start with this. What if everything you've been told about God is a lie? Or at least, not the full story. What if the real truth about God has been hidden from you? Because let's face it, you weren't supposed to know. The ancients knew something powerful. They knew about the real God, but over time, that knowledge got twisted, packaged, and sold back to us as something limited. Something that fits inside a neat little box. Think about it. We've been told God is some powerful entity up in the sky, separate from us, judging us, controlling our fate. But does that really make sense? I mean, how can something infinite be confined to human characteristics? How can a God who is supposed to embody love also be capable of hate, jealousy, and vengeance? It's absurd when you really think about it. But here's the thing, the real God, the one the ancients knew about, isn't like that at all. The real God is infinite, formless, nameless. It's not someone you pray to for favors. It's not someone you fear. It's something you experience, something that's inside you, but we've somehow forgotten that. Somewhere along the way, we started looking for God outside of ourselves. We started believing that we were small, that we were separate, that we needed to beg for grace or mercy. But that's all part of the illusion.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Ask yourself this: what if the real God is not out there at all? What if God is right here, within you, waiting for you to wake up and realize that you've had the power all along? Remember what Nikola Tesla said: life is and will ever remain an equation incapable of solution, but it contains certain known factors. He was onto something. We've been trying to quantify the infinite, trying to make sense of something that can't be confined by logic or human understanding. It's like trying to pour the ocean into a cup. Impossible, right? Yet we keep doing it. We keep trying to fit God into these tiny, manageable ideas because we're afraid of the truth. The truth that we are more powerful than we've been led to believe. Do you feel that? That stirring inside of you, that restlessness? That's the real God calling you. But here's the trick: you won't find it by looking outside. You won't find it in a church or a temple or from some preacher telling you what to believe. You'll find it within yourself, but only if you're brave enough to look. Neville Goddard, one of the greatest minds of spiritual wisdom, said that God became man so that man may become God. Think about that for a second. We didn't just randomly end up here. We descended into this human experience to remember who we really are. To go through the struggles, the pain, the joys, and the suffering, all to eventually wake up and find that we've been God all along. But here's the catch: most of us haven't realized that yet. We're still lost in the illusion, still searching for meaning in all the wrong places. We feel pain because we haven't found the one thing that can end that pain: the real God, the one within. You see, as long as you're looking for God outside of yourself, as long as you're living from a place of separation, you'll always feel incomplete, always feel like something's missing. But the moment you realize that the real God is not something out there, but something in here, everything changes. Now let's get real for a second. What if I told you that you are the very life principle that God is? I mean, really think about that. You are not separate from God. You are not a sinner doomed to suffer and beg for forgiveness. You are God, experiencing this life through the lens of a human being. But most of us are asleep to that truth. We've forgotten who we are. Neville Goddard had what he called mystical experiences, where he described God as infinite power and infinite love. He felt it in meditation. And it's not something you can know intellectually, it's something you feel, something you experience. But here's the kicker: as long as you keep believing that God is some separate being, some entity that you need to worship or please, you'll never tap into that infinite power within you. You'll stay stuck in the illusion of separation. Look, man is constantly looking for God in the external world, through religion, through rituals, through rules. But the ancients knew the truth. They knew that the real God is within. The Hermetic teachings tell us that the all is mind, the universe is mental. Everything you see, everything you experience, is a product of consciousness. And here's the wild part: you are that consciousness. You are that mind. The reason you suffer, the reason you feel lost, is because you've forgotten that. You've identified with this limited human self, this ego, and you've forgotten that you are the dreamer of this whole reality. That's right. You are dreaming this entire experience. And the moment you wake up to that fact, everything changes. When you realize that you are not just a character in this dream, but the dreamer itself, you stop being afraid. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstance. You stop chasing after things that don't matter. And more importantly, you stop suffering. Because suffering only exists when you believe in the illusion of separation. So here's a question for you: who do you say that you are? Seriously, who do you believe yourself to be? Because your answer to that question is what shapes your entire experience. If you believe you're a small, powerless human, that's exactly what you'll experience. But if you know, deep down, that you are the very essence of God, then your life will reflect that. Now let's talk about your mind. Your mind is a powerful tool, but most of us let it control us instead of the other way around. You see, your mind is constantly creating your reality. Whatever you believe about yourself, whatever you assume to be true, becomes your experience. If you believe you're limited, guess what? You'll experience limitations. If you believe you're abundant, you'll experience abundance. This is why the ancients stressed the importance of controlling your thoughts. Because your thoughts are not just random, they are powerful. They create your reality. As Neville Goddard said, speech and mind are the gifts of God to man, which if mastered, make man equal to the immortals. That's right. You have the power to shape your life, to create your reality, simply by mastering your thoughts. But most of us let our minds run wild. We let negative thoughts, limiting beliefs, and fear control us. And then we wonder why our lives are filled with struggle and suffering. But here's the truth: you are not your thoughts. You are the one observing your thoughts. And once you realize that, you can start to change them. You can start to create a new reality. So here's my challenge to you: start paying attention to the story you're telling yourself. What beliefs have you accepted about yourself? What limitations have you placed on yourself? Because whatever you believe to be true is exactly what you'll experience. You don't have to stay stuck in the story you've been telling yourself. You can rewrite it. You can start to claim your power as the creator of your reality. You can start to tap into that infinite power within you, the real God that you've forgotten about. And when you do that, when you start living from that place of power, everything changes. You stop feeling like a victim. You stop feeling lost. You stop searching for answers outside of yourself because you realize that the answers have been within you all along. So again, who do you say that you are? All right, let's dive even deeper. We've talked about how everything you experience comes from within, how the real God is inside you, and how your thoughts shape your reality. But here's where it gets even more powerful. The moment you stop identifying with the illusion of separation, you break free from the chains that have been holding you back your entire life. You see, we live in a world that constantly reinforces the idea that we're all separate from each other, from nature, from God. We're taught that we're individuals competing against one another, trying to survive in a world of scarcity. But what if I told you that's all part of the illusion? What if I told you that you are not separate from anything? That, in fact, you are connected to everything and everyone, and that the entire universe is a reflection of your inner state. Think about it. If the universe is mental, as the Hermetics taught, then everything you see is a projection of your own consciousness. The people in your life, the situations you encounter, even the challenges you face, they're all reflections of your internal world. And the moment you realize that, you gain the power to change it all. But here's where most people get stuck. They cling to the idea of separation because it's familiar. It's comfortable. It's what they've always known. They've built their entire identity around the idea of being an individual, separate from the whole. And because of that, they experience fear, loneliness, and lack. They believe that life is happening to them, not through them. And that belief keeps them trapped in the illusion. So how do you break free? How do you awaken to the truth that you are not separate, that you are the creator of your experience? It starts with a radical shift in perception. You have to begin seeing yourself not as a separate individual, but as a manifestation of the one infinite consciousness. You have to let go of the idea that you are a victim of your circumstances and start claiming your power as the creator. You have to realize that the external world is just a mirror, reflecting back to you what you believe about yourself and the world. Now, I know this is a lot to take in, but stay with me. The world has conditioned you to believe in separation because a divided world is easier to control. As long as you believe you're separate from God, from others, from nature, you'll always be looking for something outside of yourself to make you whole. But the truth is, you are already whole. You are already complete. You just don't remember it yet. Here's a question: what would your life look like if you truly believed that you were one with everything? How would you act? How would you think? How would you treat others? Because once you realize that there is no separation, everything changes. You stop living in fear. You stop seeing others as competition. You stop chasing after things to fill the void because you realize that there is no void. The real God, the infinite, formless intelligence, is already within you. You are it. Now let's talk about something that most people don't want to hear. You are living far below your potential. And I'm not talking about potential in terms of what society tells you you know. Get a good job, make a lot of money, be successful. I'm talking about your spiritual potential, your ability to tap into the infinite power within you and create a life beyond anything you've ever imagined. But here's the thing: most people are afraid of their own power. They're afraid to step into the truth of who they are because they've been conditioned to believe that they're small, that they're not worthy, that they need to play it safe. And so they settle. They accept a life of mediocrity because it feels safer than taking the risk of stepping into the unknown. But let me tell you something: that fear, it's all based on a lie. The lie that you are separate from God. The lie that you are powerless. You've been given the gift of consciousness, of awareness. And with that gift comes the ability to create. You are constantly creating your reality, whether you realize it or not. The question is, are you creating consciously or unconsciously? Are you letting your limiting beliefs and fears shape your life? Or are you stepping into your power and consciously shaping your reality? Neville Goddard said, "Man is all imagination, God is man, and exists in us and we in him." The eternal body of man is the imagination that's right. Your imagination is the key to unlocking your infinite potential. Whatever you can imagine, you can create. But most people don't use their imagination. They let it atrophy. They get stuck in the same patterns of thinking, the same limiting beliefs, and they wonder why their life doesn't change. Here's a practical piece of advice: start using your imagination. Start imagining a life beyond your current circumstances. Start imagining yourself as the powerful, limitless being that you are. And don't just imagine it, feel it. Feel what it would be like to live that life. Feel what it would be like to truly step into your power. Because as you begin to imagine it, you will start to create it. Your external reality will begin to shift to match the internal state that you hold. But here's the catch: you have to believe it. You have to believe that you are worthy of that life. You have to believe that you are capable of creating it. Because if you don't believe it, if you hold on to the old story that you're small and powerless, that's exactly what you'll create. Your beliefs are the foundation of your reality, and until you change those beliefs, nothing will change. So here's my challenge to you: start paying attention to your beliefs. Start noticing the thoughts that come up when you think about stepping into your power. What limiting beliefs are holding you back? What stories have you been telling yourself about who you are and what you're capable of? And once you identify those beliefs, start challenging them. Start replacing them with new, empowering beliefs. You are not here to live a small, limited life. You are here to experience the fullness of your being, to tap into the infinite potential within you, and to create a life that reflects the truth of who you are. And the only thing standing in your way is your own mind. Now, let's bring it all together. We've talked about the illusion of separation. We've talked about the power of your mind and your imagination. But here's the ultimate truth: you are already home. You are already one with God, with the universe, with everything and everyone. There is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to achieve to be worthy of this. You are already it. The journey of life isn't about becoming something more. It's about remembering who you already are. It's about waking up to the truth that you are the creator, the dreamer, the one who shapes reality with your thoughts, beliefs, and imagination. And the moment you realize that, the moment you wake up from the dream of separation, everything changes. You stop searching. You stop striving. You stop feeling like you need to prove yourself or earn your worth. Because you realize that you are already whole. You are already complete. You are already God. So the question is, are you ready to wake up? Are you ready to step into the truth of who you are? Because the moment you do, you'll realize that the real God, the one you weren't supposed to know about, has been within you all along. And once you find it, you'll never be the same again. Let's get real for a moment. Every single day, you're bombarded with messages telling you to keep searching, to keep striving, to keep seeking something outside of yourself for meaning, for happiness, for fulfillment. But here's the truth: the seeking never ends until you come to the profound realization that there is nothing to seek. You've been looking in all the wrong places. You've been chasing after illusions, thinking that the next achievement, The next relationship, the next dollar will finally make you feel whole. But it never does it? That's because you're already whole. You've always been whole. But no one ever told you that. Instead, the world teaches you to look outside, to compare yourself to others, to believe that you're incomplete. But what if I told you that the moment you stop seeking, you actually find everything you've been searching for? You see, the real God isn't something you need to search for. It's not some external force that's hiding from you, waiting for you to prove yourself worthy. The real God is within you, and it's been there all along, waiting for you to wake up to the truth. The truth that you are not a mere human being trying to have a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. Take a moment and let that sink in. You are the creator of your own reality. You are the one who shapes and molds your world through the power of your mind, your beliefs, and your imagination. The external world is not separate from you, and it's not random. It's a reflection of your inner state. Everything you experience is a mirror, showing you what you believe to be true about yourself and the world. So here's the question, what are you creating right now? Are you creating a life that reflects your highest potential, your deepest desires? Or are you living in a reality shaped by fear, doubt, and limiting beliefs? Because here's the kicker, whether you're conscious of it or not, you are always creating. The question is whether you're creating deliberately or by default. If you're still living in fear, if you're still chasing after things outside of yourself to feel complete, then you're living by default. You're letting the world dictate your reality instead of stepping into your power as the creator. But the moment you take responsibility for your life, the moment you realize that you are the one in control, everything changes. You stop being a victim. You stop feeling like life is happening to you. Instead, you start to see that life is happening through you. You are the one directing the play. You are the one writing the script. And the script you write is based on what you believe to be true about yourself. Let me ask you something. If you could create anything, if you could live any life, what would it look like? Would it be filled with abundance, love, joy, and freedom? Or would it be filled with struggle, limitation, and fear? The answer to that question is the key to unlocking your power. Because once you realize that you are the creator, you can start to consciously shape your reality into whatever you want it to be. But here's the thing, it's not enough to just know this intellectually. You have to live it. You have to embody it. You have to start acting as if you are the creator of your reality. Because you are. And the moment you start living from that place, the entire universe will begin to shift in response. Now let's get into one of the most powerful tools you have at your disposal, the power of assumption. This is something that Neville Goddard spoke about extensively, and it's one of the most profound, yet simple concepts to understand. The idea is this: whatever you assume to be true about yourself and your life will become your reality. It's that simple. If you assume that you are a person of abundance, you will experience abundance. If you assume that you are constantly struggling, that will be your reality. Your assumptions shape your experience because your assumptions dictate your beliefs, and your beliefs create your reality. But here's the tricky part: most people are unaware of the assumptions they're making. They've been conditioned to assume certain things about themselves and the world, and they never question those assumptions. They assume that life is hard, that success is rare, that love is difficult to find. And because they hold these assumptions, that's exactly what they experience. But what if you started to assume something different? What if you started to assume that everything was working out in your favor? What if you assumed that you were worthy of all the love, success, and abundance that you desire? What if you assumed that you were the creator, not the victim, of your life? Because here's the truth: you are always assuming something. The question is, are you assuming things that empower you or things that limit you? Take a moment and really think about this. What assumptions are you holding on to right now that are keeping you from stepping into your full power? What stories have you been telling yourself about who you are and what you can do? Once you identify those limiting assumptions, you have the power to change them. You can start to consciously assume a new identity, a new reality. And this isn't just about positive thinking. This is about knowing that you are the creator of your experience and living from that knowing. When you assume something to be true with conviction, the universe has no choice but to reflect that assumption back to you. It's law. It has to happen. But most people are too afraid to assume their own power. They're too afraid to believe that they are worthy of everything they desire. And so they stay stuck, living in a reality shaped by fear and limitation. But you don't have to stay stuck. You can start right now to assume a new reality. You can start right now to claim your power as the creator of your life. And once you do, you'll begin to see the world around you shift in ways you never thought possible. So here's my challenge to you: start paying attention to the assumptions you're making. Start becoming aware of the stories you're telling yourself about who you are and what you can have. And then start to change them. Start to assume that you are already connected to the infinite power within you. Start to assume that you are worthy of everything you desire. Start to assume that you are the creator of your reality, not the victim of it. Because the truth is, you are. You always have been. And once you start living from that truth, you will experience a life beyond anything you've ever imagined.